guys, welcome back. We are at day 6 of 30 watercolor tips and tricks. This is for Inktober 2024, but later on it's going to live on my website. Today's an easier day. I think you're going to like it. So I don't know if you've done this before, but we're going to do taping. It's day 6 on our printable. We have the 2 free printables for this series. Day 6, taping. For nice crisp edges, tape off a border before you begin to paint. Carefully peel it off when all paint is dry. But I'm ahead of myself. First, I need to show you my earrings because I have a big earring collection, but these are some of my favorites. They're like made of clay by my niece, Izzy, who's 12 years old. Come on, look at these. They're just a little heavy, so I don't wear them all the time, but thank you for that little break. Hi, Izzy. And we got taping. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's talk about our supplies for a minute. We need a size 10 round watercolor brush, a pencil and an eraser, watercolor set. This is the one I like to use. Water and a towel or a paper towel. We're gonna need a little craft heat gun or a little hair dryer or something, or else you're gonna have to wait in between. If you do find yourself waiting, just do a bunch of these at the same time because it fills your time and you get to practice, and I think it's fun. What else? We need tape. We need tape. This is mine for today. It's just regular old painter's tape. You could use masking tape. You could use washi tape. Probably any of those are fine. I don't think I would do like regular desk tape, like the clear, do you know what I mean? And another thing you might want is something to tape onto. So I just wanted to show you the option of using a board like this. I'm not going to today, but the benefit of that is like then you can lift it and turn it still when you want to. So if your dryer doesn't reach your table and you have to lift it, then maybe tape it onto something. Sometimes I've done like the back of I've grabbed a cereal box out of the recycling and just like cut it so it's just like a flat piece of cardboard and taped onto that. Like you can do anything. If you don't have remember like your printable here for the calendar, you can keep checking off every day. Look, we're making progress. Okay, I'm gonna move some of this out of the way here. We've got our tape. Okay, I did want to show you where I got this idea. Bought this cute little, I think it's like a creamer. It's like like a mug, and it's so adorable, right? Here's what we're going to paint today. So you can see 2 versions of it. This one on the left, I hadn't taped off an edge, but I wanted to use this for taping, and I think it looks so neat and clean this way. That's where I got the idea. You can get ideas anywhere, right? And so I think that's it. Let's get into it. Okay, I hope you've got all of your stuff situated here. Okay, I hope you have all of your stuff situated here. You can get this one out of your way now. We don't need that. For a minute, I'm going to leave both of these here just because you can see some slight differences between them. And we need our tape first, so that's the first thing. I do want to talk about a way to get, I'm just thinking about this. It'd be better if I had turned the camera, but I'm just going to tell you it. Okay, so you can imagine. Oh, well, you know what? I probably should use a new square of paper instead of just painting over this one. Hold on. Okay, got it. This tape, I just pulled off a piece of this big, fat, thick tape. I like to take it and put it on my clothing. I just pressed it onto my apron and back, and now I'm going to tape it. And it makes it much less likely to rip your paper when you take it off later. So I'm putting it here. I like to be able to see through the paper some if I can. I don't know if you can see through my paper, but I'm trying to make this line even. You want it pretty even. This isn't perfect, but I'm going to let it be. Tape it down, rip, just kind of measure by like this and just tear it off. Take it, put it to your clothing first. You know, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. If you've done this a lot and you have good luck with it, great. But man, you know how I keep talking about the things that would make me mad about watercolor? I'm just telling you, like, don't rip my paper after I did my painting, you know what I mean? So I put it onto my clothing first. Some other artist, I'm sure, gave me that tip initially. And now I'm just trying to lay these pieces of tape on here in some way that they're even. You can start to see through it here. You know, you can go like, okay, you can always lift up a piece of tape if you need to and make it even. But if you tape it with crooked lines, you know, tricky. You could draw them on there first, I guess, but then you'll see your pencil later. So it's just up to you. So now we're just taping away. The thing is, oh, see, I almost forgot. Don't forget, every time, put it on your clothing. This tape is blue, and so it's kind of funny. I wish I could actually understand what it does to the brain when you're like seeing these other colors. Like, how does that affect the colors that you choose for your painting or whatever? Because like you're seeing a very big percentage of blue here. If your tape is like cream or white, like I think that's the way to go. But honestly, often mine is blue or green. And that's just fine. It is taped. I made sure it's like nice and solid down there. If it's not pushed onto the paper, you know, the paint can just go around it. And then now we're just going to pretend like this is our piece of paper. We'll grab our pencil and our eraser, blue, matchy matchy, and we'll start doing some drawing here. Remember, the most important thing about your pencil is that you press lightly so you can erase freely, which means you can sketch freely, you know. We are going to first observe. Close one, I almost forgot. Okay, why I love to observe is, I mean, you got to get it on paper. It's important to see it first. These are similar but different. We're just going to ignore the fact that this one doesn't have a taped edge. The one main difference you see right off the bat is this one has ink over the top, something for you to think about. Obviously, you can always add ink at the end if you decide, but you can't really lift it up. So here's two options for you and just looking at that. And when we look at these, I think the most, like, okay, well, look, it's a stem that comes up the middle, curves to the right. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 balls on it. And the balls kind of have these like straight stems, which I think is really cute. It's not much of a curve. Boop, boop, boop. Okay. And I love those. They're imperfect. Look, they're not perfect. So yours don't have to be either. And then we've got these leaves, very sort of typical, almost, you know, eyeball, squished football sort of leaf shape. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But we are not really seeing symmetry. They're not the same size. They're not, you know, they don't start at the same spot. They have these tiny circles over the top, and the balls have this design over the top. So when we get started painting, realize this is glazing, so the back layer comes first. And any of these details that sit on top, it has to be fully dry before we do those. One thing I want us to look at is like this circle here has straight lines, okay? And this one down here has curved lines. You will likely find that this one down here looks more realistic and more round because we curved the lines, but both are cute. If this intimidates you trying to get these lines right, don't do it. Do it like this. Do it however. It's okay. If you want to try, like these ones are, this is still cute, but now that I look at them, like they're much less perfect than this one. And they are. And it's still cute. Let's get going. That's too much talking. My kids hate when the art teacher just talks for so long. Okay, we'll start our stem kind of at the bottom center. Let's put a dot. Let's put a dot up here where we want that stem to go. So that means we're kind of looking for space for this circle up top. In fact, let's put it there. No harm in that. We'll put some sort of a circle, and whatever size circle you do, and we just plan on all of them being about that same size. Notice I have space between the circle and the top as we do over here. And now we already have this dot. I will curve them to each other. I kind of wanted to stay in the middle. So notice I started and I kind of switched it. All right, that's our beginning. Now you can take it and put an aura, which is just a line that follows alongside another line right here. We've got 3 stems. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let's do our stem. I could probably lay my pencil down and it starts above that. Just straight and put the aura. 1, 2. We're going to do another circle. We want to make sure it's about the same size as this one here. And notice I wanted mine a little bigger, so I started to kind of just mess with it. We've got pencil, we've got eraser. We're going to use them both. I just used to think you had to get it right the first time. You had to be able to do these amazingly perfect straight lines to be an artist. So many things I thought that really kept me from just being an artist. This one starts a little bit lower and goes not quite so far, but make sure you don't go straight out because you won't have space for the circle. So 1, 2, and we'll put our circle down here. If yours is more of a lump than a circle, great. If it's more of an oval than a circle, great. If it's like, it doesn't matter. These are the things that makes it your artwork. Up here, kind of halfway between this one and this, we've got this. It's maybe a little above it. We won't worry too much about that. Here's our little stem with the other line right next to it, which gives us our aura. And here we will put another circle. Look over here. I need some space between these two balls. Do you see? I got to fit that leaf in. So mine was getting close. I'm going to move it to the left or down a little bit like this. And I'll shift my stem if needed. It's those little, you're just constantly observing your reference and use a reference. That's another thing I thought you couldn't do. You just had to memorize everything you saw is what I thought. This one's too little. He's smaller than the rest. Is that cute or not? I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. It is cute though. Could have gone either way. Choices like this, you just decide and move on. All right, got it. We're going to get these stems in now. So let's see where they start and where they end. We're going to use the dot method, okay? This one starts, you see this? The stem's further. So all the way kind of up here, dot. Let's put a dot where we want it to go. We're going to use the space we have, so these are not exactly the same. I'm going to take both dots, curve it out, and meet this one up top. Great. Curve it back in. And notice I just let it connect. So I could have brought it in, but I like it that way. So I'm going to do the same here. Here's another one. It starts above this guy. Maybe right here. So pick where you think it starts. And this is going to, both points are going to meet here. And we see this one here. I'm looking here where to put that dot. Now I want space between, and this is going to help us when we paint. So let's try not to let them touch. We might have to bring that one in. We'll see. A little bit of space. In fact, what I'll do is I'll take my dot to the right, and then I still get a good curve in there. See what I did? I made an adjustment right on the spot, and that kept these two from touching. I'll erase my initial dot. Good work, guys. Don't you wish you could just have somebody follow you around and just tell you good work on all the stuff you do every day? I put a dot where I think it's going to go. And now I'm going to kind of take it and curve it from the base up and over. And then look where it ends, just kind of halfway between. So I'm going to put a dot here, and that's where it'll end. Great, I didn't have to fit the whole thing. We'll do the same over here. Find a spot where you think it. I just had to stop and delete like a million things off of my phone, but I'm back. Okay, right here we got a dot. I think it's going to start about here. Curve out to meet again. And starts a little lower this time. That's up to you. All of this is personal preference. Move it where you like it. You know, it doesn't have to be the same as this one. Dot where we start, dot where we end, and these are smaller. Same thing here. And we've got one more. Now this is completely different. So I either move this guy or I move the leaf. I think I should move this guy down because otherwise I'm going to cover so much of the leaf. All right, so this is a zig. We're going to zig sometimes. Just like in life. Okay. So this guy has to come lower so he can kind of be out of my way. You see how yours looks and adjust as needed. Now he's pretty low. Great. One more erase. Boom. Now I'm going to start this above, and it'll go here, and see now I'll have space for that leaf. And this covers it, but like it doesn't totally cover it. Yeah, I think I'll just leave that part behind. We could tighten it up, but I don't want to because I have to paint that. And I kind of like the simplicity of it. Oh my goodness, we did another sketch. I like it. Do you like yours? I hope so. I'm going to start talking to you guys like Blue's Clues. Like, how's your day? You know what I mean? Okay, I'm getting weird. Let's move the pencil and the eraser out of the way. Now, the tricky thing is I can't move this anymore, right? So I'll bring things to it or work on top of it for a minute to get our paints ready. Let's get them ready. I love the colors in this one. It's part of what drew me to it initially. And if you like it because of the colors, leave them. And if you don't like these colors at all, change them. I think it could be beautiful in so many ways. What we will need for it is we will need this darker sort of mustardy color, sort of a brownish yellow color, and then a really light version of it for the leaves. We'll need a light sort of bluish green color, and then a darker version of it as well. Kind of nice when it's like simplified like that. So I've got my brush. I dipped my brush into my water, and now I'm going to go to my paints. I'm going to find this one. It is mustard. It's called Yellow Ochre. Grab my wet brush, swipe it around, and start this puddle. I'm going to go to my water and back, though, and now look at that. That's nice. I want more darkness in it. I want to see some contrast. I like this one down here because it's darker and lighter, where these are more similar. Okay, so I've got good amount of paint, good amount of water. I can move my brush easily. This is a puddle. And now I'll clean my brush. Actually, you know what I could have done is this. Grab some of this, put it right here, fill your brush with water and come back, and now I've got a start to my lighter color. So if it's still too dark, clean the pigment out of your brush and come back. And I think I want to add a little bit of brown to it, so play with this, but when we do really light colors, it is mostly water, right? You just want a little bit of paint. And now it makes me want this color darker as I look at them next to each other. That's part of why we create puddles. So I'm adding some brown into this one. Ooh, I like what I just did. That was good. Very good fall color, I would say. So make sure you like your puddles. Play with those. We need, remember, the leaf color and the background color. Clean out your brush. If you've got this paint set, it's the fourth one down from the bottom right. Will give you a good start. And then I will add water to that. First, I want my background color, so like for the balls and the stem. And actually, I like it right off the bat. I don't think we really need to mix anything. So make sure you like it. If it's too dark, clean out your brush and add water. If it's too light, add more paint into your puddle. This is a really good start. Okay, so now after this, we're going to need a really sort of dark brown and a dark green. But I say, let's wait a minute and we'll mix those colors in a minute. We'll start with these three. So the thing about your paint set is like you always want to have it on a flat surface so your puddles don't tip and like tip into each other. So for now, I can't put it on the board because see how I work? This is like a big board and it's not an even surface for me. So, all right, so we'll see this up close today. First, let's start with doing those leaves. And we will have to just dry because everything's kind of touching each other today. I'm taking my brush. I'm kind of, I don't know, you can maybe do half of your brush into your puddle. That's fine. And then we're going to just start to fill in these leaves. You won't be able to see mine super well because it's a light color. If it's too light, though, you can just grab from your other puddle and darken it up a bit. Borrow from the one you already made. When I do watercolor classes in person, I just have to have music. And I always ask if it's too loud, and usually it is, so I have to turn it down. And then I always just, the second we can get like in the zone, I just go turn the music up. I hope you're listening to something good at home. I like this. Okay, I used a whole bunch of water or paint, you know, like I didn't really worry about limiting it on my brush. But that means right now I'm going to clean my brush and dry it and just look for anywhere where there's just like a little bit too much. So any puddling or pooling, any space where you can't really even see the texture of the paper through it, or it just seems like maybe it's too much, just go ahead and lift some of that up. And I actually think we're going to be back and forth to the dryer a couple times in a row because look, everything is touching everything on this one. So let's take this one. Grab your little heat gun or your hair dryer or whatever and give this a dry. This is actually an interesting one to check your work. If you look at these leaves that you just did and you see a whole bunch of lines in them, you probably didn't have quite as much water as I did, and maybe you worked a little bit slower like this. And what happens when we do that is that this part dries before we get to this, and we just see it'll look sort of messy. And if you think yours looks messy, next time we try something like this where it's just solid little fill-in like this, maybe err on the side of a little bit more water. Okay, let's get into the greenish color. I think that'll be a fun start. My brush is cleaned and dried, and then I will put the first, maybe third end of my brush into my puddle. And I'm gonna just start filling these in. See how this has a lot? I can just take that and run it this way. It gives it sort of an avenue for that extra to run. And I still will probably lift up some paint, but it gives me the ability to just kind of like, look how quickly I fill it in. It's all nice and wet. And I loaded up my brush because I needed a little bit more paint on there. Don't let it dry out while you work. I like how this one's just about taping. It's kind of a simple one, but we still get this cute painting out of it. Okay, now I'll do the same thing I did before. Clean my brush, dry it, and if anything, it's just got a little bit more water than I think maybe it could have. I'm just gonna lift it up a little, but see, it leaves little marks, so you got to be careful. Just kind of quick touch it once and move away. And now back to the dryers. Okay, excellent. So we're going to get into a part that I think you might find a little harder. Trying to think if we've done it yet. We kind of did it on day 4 with the pears, where we had to go around the pears and fill in the background. But this is more complicated because we have a lot more like corners and things like that. And also, depending on what you taped it to, you're not going to be able to turn your paper to get into those easier. So when I paint mine today, my hand might be in the way of it more than normal, just for that reason. But what we're going to do is we're going to get our brush. Remember, start with clean and dry, and then you know what you're doing. And then I'll get into that puddle of darker paint. And I'm going to start here, and I'm going to move methodically from this area and kind of go around this way. And I want you to think of it as moving a puddle around your paper. I'll start like this, but you want to keep it from having any like ends that start to dry. So this is all nice and wet, and I can even sort of pull that over, pull that puddle around, grab more paint when you need it. We want to kind of keep it moving. You don't want it to dry because watercolor is transparent and it will show that. I have someone who came to a lot of classes and he would say it's like it leaves a witness, and I always thought that was funny. Shows where it's been. So now I'm taking this, notice, look how wet that is. It's like I am moving a puddle. That is the most helpful thing I found for this when I want to fill in these spaces. You could even come back and fill in these small ones later. Brush full of paint. So if it's drying while you work, maybe load your brush up a little bit more. Remember, for these little tiny spaces like here, lift your brush up light on the tip of your brush, and hold your brush more vertically because that tip will be smaller. I need to sort of load up my paint. I think my paint sort of diminished faster than I wanted, so I'm quickly trying to match it, and that is something that's kind of hard to do. That's why we try to make our puddle big enough in the beginning. So if the right side of my painting's a little darker than the left, that's why. So you try to kind of anticipate how much you're going to need. Can you hear my cat Pickles? She's very needy because she likes to play fetch. I don't know if she'll stop. She's excellent at playing fetch. She's a kitten. All right, I want to lift from here where it's getting dark, and then I'm going to keep it moving. So if you see any places where you're like, oh my gosh, it's got like a puddle or the paint looks really dark, clean your brush, dry it on your towel, set it and lift it, and just grab up some of that excess. And it's okay, it doesn't have to all be the same. It's going to look cool. I think that partly is some of the coolness when it looks different colors. It just depends on what you think about that. Now we're going to dry it again, and we'll get into these layers, or what's called glazing, after that. I already think this is so cute. Isn't that just like a nice, simple design? But from here, we've got our first wash, our first layer, and I'm pulling up my paints. This is fully dry, so I can set this on top of here. And we need to make these darker colors. So let's look at them. On top of the leaves, there's these little tiny circles. They're kind of a brown. They lean more towards brown than this mustard color, but that's up to you. And then this one here is basically the same color we started with. So let's start with that one. I'm putting the tip of my brush into my water. I'm grabbing this one from the fourth up from the bottom right. I do have a video about setting up your paint set, if that's helpful to you. It's somewhere here on YouTube. Okay, see this, how dark it is, but how small? It's wet enough that I can move it around. I can't really see through it, so that's nice. That's kind of perfect. And I'll clean my brush, and I want a brown. Brown, just play with the browns for a minute, I would say, because it doesn't really matter which one you pick. Don't forget that you can mix your colors too. I think I did the fourth one down from the top right on this set. I just got an email from the makers of this set asking me to do a review, so I'm hoping I have a cool, they have a new set coming out. Okay, I like these. Look how small they are. This is where we talk about the more water, the less control, and the less water, the more control. Less water, I'll have more control. I am going to dip just the tip of my brush into this puddle and move the puddle around. These are tiny circles. You can place them anywhere you want. Just try for making them kind of even. They are going to be a little tricky. All right, so really light on the tip of your brush, you're going to circle the tip of it around. Now, if you're like, I tried, this is the worst, okay, maybe try again a little bit, or yours just become circles like this. And that means you can take the tip of your brush and swirl it around, and it'll just fill in. You could also do a variety of the both, which means if you keep trying these circles and they're filling in, just fill that one in, right? It'll look like that was how it's supposed to be all along. Don't you love that? One thing that I think is cool is we never know the mind of the artist. We don't know what they wanted, right? So you don't know if they achieved it or not. You just see what you see and get to form what you think. It's kind of cool. All right, I'll fill in a couple of these just to balance it out so that they both have both. I like it. I think that's cute. More circles. We're just going all through these leaves. Don't feel like you have to match me. Just pause it if you need to. Light on the tip of your brush. Bring your brush vertical if you need to. It's cute. It's coming together, isn't it? I love to start to see these layers happen. Some of these are tinier leaves, so they can either have, they'll probably just have a few less in there. And you notice that a lot of them, I'm doing it like a half circle and meeting it on the other side with a half circle. It looks like leopard print, kind of, doesn't it? I mean, imperfectly so, but it's cute. But I'm going to try to actually match all the leaves. So I'll fill some of these in and some of these up here in. Then it's uniform across all 6 leaves. Yeah, I like how that looks. You guys are doing good. All right, we're almost there. We've got just this darker color and then ink. So, yeah, when I made my puddle of the dark, like the bluish green, I think it actually doesn't need to be quite as dark. So when we're going to put a design on top of something, it's always going to be a little bit more intimidating the darker the paint is, because it's just like aggressive. It's like a black Sharpie versus a pencil. You know what I mean? So I'm adding a little bit of water. I'll even steal some from this. It just has to be darker than what's underneath of it. And for these shapes, remember, you can decide how to do this. You don't even have to do anything. One thing that I liked doing first, do you see that there's a little shadow under them? All that is one little swipe, like a smiley face across the bottom. And if you do it with not very much water, it's going to dry before we get to the rest. If you have a lot of water, you'll need to dry it after this. It does need to like touch all the way to the bottom though. Isn't that cool? It gives it a little bit of depth. And this also runs alongside the stem. So just on the right side, remember as a rule, I just tend to think right side and underneath is where our shadows go. Love it. It's not too wet, so it should start to dry. I'm going to actually add some green paint into my puddle to darken it up for this design on top, just because that's how I want it, but you know, do whatever. And now you can watch how I do it. And remember, you can either do straight lines or try to curve them. But, you know, just be careful with it. I'm going to do an oval or I'll do a circle up here somewhere near the top. And then I like to go right through it. So think about a line that intersects and goes right through it like this. One, and then stop. So you just lift it up. And then I'll do the same top to bottom. I'm just going to try to, like on this one, maybe there wouldn't be as much of a curve, a little bit. I'll do it now this direction. And then same thing, I'll cross it through this way. And I'm just trying to let basically the ends kind of curve a little. Ah, so cute, right? You could practice this with pencil and then you can erase it. So even though it's on top of this watercolor, you can do it with pencil and erase and then just paint over your lines if you'd like to. Here's another one. Right across it. Okay. Right through top to bottom, curving my bottom a little. And then the other way. So it's like a cross and then an X. Very light on the tip of your brush. We're looking for even pressure throughout. Great. Imperfect, and that is just fine. All the way across. Sort of top to bottom of it. And now we'll do like the X. Curve those ends a little. Just kind of fun practice on this shape anyway. I needed to refresh my paint, so I just did that. And we'll go up here. Straight through, top to bottom. Left to right, so this is our cross. And now I'll start the X. I'd like to darken up my shadows just a little, so I'm going to go right over what I did. You guys probably don't need to do that, so you just keep working on your details on the top. And in a moment, we'll dry it and we'll get into our ink if you want the ink. So this is for you to start thinking about as you look at it. Do you like the ink or not? With ink, without ink. It's so cute either way. You know what else we could do is we could take the tape off first. Let's take the tape off first. I like it. Okay, I'm lifting this up a little. First, give it a dry. If you accidentally swipe it, you're going to be mad, and we try to avoid that. So we'll give it a dry. And now as we start to lift up the tape, I want you to be careful. So I made sure this is dry. I'm going to take it, and I'm going to try to actually pull sort of, see my tape like this way away. And as I do it, I'm going to look right here and see if there's any white on my tape, like I'm ripping the paper. It happens, like it happens, and it's so annoying. So this one's not on top. I should have started with a different one. I'm going to do this, pull down and away. It's going great. Awesome. And now I can pull off the rest of this, but just don't just like rip it off, because if it is tearing it, it will tear it worse. But hopefully it's not. If you want to share your artwork, I love to see it. You can go to my Facebook page, Audrey Shantz Art, and you can share your artwork with the hashtag. So that's hashtag Audrey's Art Club. And then you can see each other's work, which is so fun. Whenever I do a challenge like this, it's so fun to compare, and in a loving way, not like a competition way, but just to see each other's work is so fun. Here we go. Look at that. Look at that nice border. So I liked this like this. I love this, honestly, because I'm really attracted to like sort of masculine hard lines. Okay, I hate to use masculine and feminine, but these like hard lines, right, versus the idea of feminine soft curves. Okay, that you get both when you do it this way, and I think that that's awesome. Okay, so we did it. Let's see, let's get our signature on here. In this one, I would do it in the white space because we've got this clean space just set up for ourselves here. Love it. You can put the date on the back if you would like to. And if you have, where did I put it? If you have your printable calendar, make sure you check off day 6 because we just did it. I'll see you tomorrow.